The first question is, name one thing many people don't know about you. Just one thing.
Everything is known about me.
Rwanda's President Paul Kagame is being seen by some as the greatest living African leader who has built a shining, virtually corruption-free nation of proud citizens from the ashes of the 1994 genocide. Others say he rules with an iron fist. Some acclaim him as Mr. Africa, articulating and implementing the continent's desires. Others say he is divisive and at loggerheads with his neighbors.
During the genocide, there are many things that happened that involved some people from France.
Who is the real Paul Kagame? Paul Kagame was born October 23, 1957 in southern Rwanda and spent much of his early years living in refugee camps. He was one of the founding members of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, and was serving as its commander when the RPF retook Rwanda's capital Kigali in 1994, ending the genocide against the Tutsi. When Paul Kagame became Rwanda's president in 2000, he inherited a country that had been torn apart by genocide. To rebuild it, he had to rely on mostly uneducated guerrilla fighters and a handful of ill-trained cotters. Even the most optimistic of analysts doubted his chances. But 19 years later, the country is stable, prosperous, unified and, in large part, reconciled. Social services, such as education, healthcare, housing, and livestock are provided to the needy.
What they say about Rwanda, they think this is the worst country you have on earth. The same complaints that are being raised about Rwanda now were not even a fraction of it was raised against the government that murdered 1 million people here.
The distinction of ethnicity or region of origin, two forms of discrimination that characterized the governments leading up to the genocide against the Tutsi, which Kagame, as leader of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, brought to an end. Outside of Africa, however, Kagame raises mixed feelings, with human rights groups classifying him as an authoritarian leader, who curtails press and political freedoms and presides over an undemocratic nation whose constitution he changed to remain president beyond his legal term.
When it comes to Africa, I think we must take responsibility and accept our failures in dealing with these matters. For example, relating to what President Obasanjo has just said. For me, when I'm watching on television and I find our leaders who should have been working together all along to address these problems that commonly affect their countries, wait until they are invited to go to Europe to sit there and just, it's like they are made to sit down and address their problems. Why does anybody wait for that? What image does it even give about us, about Africa? In fact, the image it gives is that we are not there to even address these problems. We are there for a photo opportunity.
Kagame's parents fled the country during anti-Tutsi pogroms when he was 2 years old. He was raised in Rwandan communities in refugee camps in Uganda, where he observed and was a victim to the recurrent oppression visited upon his people. He later joined a Ugandan guerrilla movement, the National Resistance Army, that installed Yoweri Museveni as president of Uganda. When he returned to Rwanda as leader of the RPF, the country's coffers had been looted, an estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus had been killed, the survivors were traumatized, the killers fearful of retribution and the returnees destitute. Rwanda was a failed state by any measure. 25 years after the genocide, the wounds are slowly healing. Survivors still see Kagame as the guarantor of their existence. He pardoned the perpetrators and set the country on a journey to unity and reconciliation. Kagame has been tough in his style of governance, uncompromising on corruption, populism and divisive speech. Politicians with hate-charged rhetoric have consistently faced harsh sentences and lengthy prison terms. Speech is regulated to prohibit ethnic prejudice while democracy was trimmed and tailored to the peculiar predicament facing the Rwandan people. This was necessary to install a new governmentality. A new, unified country had somehow to be built with the same people, killers and their victims living side by side with a unity of purpose, the betterment of their village, the district, their country. In this endeavor, Kagame was acting with the people's mandate and within the ambits of the Rwandan constitution. His mission as Rwandan leader is first and foremost to protect the Rwandan people from genocide, by any means necessary. This mission, which is not sufficiently understood by the Western world, will probably be passed on to his successors for 2 or 3 generations to come. International analysts and champions of democracy have not embraced Kagame's different approach, often assessing Rwandan politics through a Western lens and thus missing the complexities of governing post-genocide. As a result, they may have missed what is arguably the most edifying case study in national transformation of the last 25 years. Rwandan mothers receive ante- and postnatal health care, and maternal mortality ratios in the country decreased by 77% between 2000 and 2013. Newborns are vaccinated. The city is clean and people can walk safely at night. They ministers no longer require personal security details. Your security will be guaranteed like that of other Rwandan citizens, they were told. Progress is visible. This, from a Rwandan viewpoint, is human rights in practice, and it explains why, in 2015, more than 60% of voters signed a petition calling for constitutional changes to allow Kagame to stand for election again after his term ended in 2017. Some outsiders seem concerned that Kagame has not groomed a successor, and although there are no crown princes in Rwanda, the president has chosen to groom thousands of young men and young women, in particular, to lead the country into the future. The average age of his cabinet is 40. Women make up 50% of the cabinet, 61.5% of the parliament and 50% of Supreme Court judges. In 2018, Kagame chaired the African Union, championing potentially game-changing initiatives such as the Continental Free Trade Area, CFTA, which was signed in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. African youths are enthusiastic about Kagame. It is not uncommon to see calls on social media for Kagame to be borrowed as president of their respective countries, even if just for a few months to fix things. The beauty of Africa is that every 25 years, the population renews itself. Over 70% of the Rwandan population is what we call the Kagame generation, empowered, ambitious young people free from the prejudices that animated their parents. Of course, major challenges remain.
We really need to stop this superiority complex nonsense about human rights. You think you are the only ones who respect human rights, or others it's about violating human rights. No, we've fought for human rights and freedoms of our people much better and more than anyone, including you people who keep talking about this nonsense. Where we have taken our country from and where it is now speaks for itself. The rest of the stories just comes from this complex. You know, these two worlds where there are people who know everything about human rights and all kinds of things, and another world where people are just people who don't know. But these are our human rights. It's not, when we respect the things we respect in our countries, it's not for you, it's not for anybody else, it's for ourselves.
Is it not
So
universal?
you don't sit
right?
there, you don't, yes, it is universal, but you don't sit there. If it is universal and you believe it, then you don't become the judge yourself. You don't start telling the others what to do, what they should not do, or that what they are doing is not to your satisfaction. Who are you?
In 2017, the unemployment rate was 16.7% and the youth unemployment rate 21%. But Kagame is betting on the country's M.I.C.E. meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, strategy and information communications technology and off-farm employment opportunities to absorb the 250,000 young people who enter the job market each year. The bookmakers are still out, but with Rwanda's economy expanding by 8.6% in 2018, the county rated the second best place to do business in Africa, and it having soared up the Human Development Index, the indicators are looking promising.
No matter how down you are brought by any factors, just don't accept staying down.
Thanks for watching. Please drop your view about Paul Kagame on the comment section. To follow for more videos, please like, share and subscribe.